President Vladimir Putin has signed a new law allowing non-Russian citizens to enlist in the Russian military. The legislation introduces amendments to several key laws, including on military duty and military service, on defense, and on the status of military personnel. Under this new framework, foreign nationals and stateless individuals will be able to sign military contracts and serve until the end of mobilization, the lifting of martial law, or the conclusion of wartime conditions. The law takes effect immediately upon its official publication. According to the explanatory note, it was fast-tracked to implement urgent additional measures to replenish the armed forces of the Russian Federation. This move underscores the severity of Russia's current military manpower crisis. The Kremlin appears reluctant, or politically unable, to initiate a full-scale mobilization, fearing public backlash, particularly in major urban centers like Moscow and St. Petersburg. Analysts warn that widespread protests could erupt if general mobilization were declared, posing a significant threat to regime stability. A particularly alarming aspect of this development is the likelihood that thousands of stateless labor migrants, many of whom work in markets, on the streets, or at construction sites, will now be systematically recruited into the military. In fact, this process has already begun. In recent months, Alexander Bastrykin, head of the Russian Investigative Committee, revealed that over 20,000 stateless migrants have already been forcibly sent to war zones in Ukraine. This new legislation effectively legalizes and institutionalizes that practice. Migrants rounded up from public spaces and workplaces will now be issued formal military contracts, turning them into legal soldiers, bound for the front lines. Ultimately, this law reveals deep structural deficiencies in Russia's defense apparatus, both in troop numbers and operational capability. The growing resistance to the war among the Russian public has only compounded the crisis. Faced with dwindling voluntary enlistments and the risks of mandatory mobilization, the Kremlin is now opting to target vulnerable and politically voiceless groups, particularly from Central Asia, as a means to sustain its war effort.